Um, you know what, guys? I want to do this Brazil story up top before we go to the post game. So just check the outline. Um, Take about, I don't know, like 10 minutes on this. Um, I and Artesia's running a bit behind, so I'm not feeling the best. But I'll try to power through a little bit here. So I want to just do this because it's, obviously just continuing the loop on this story. The coverage of Lula and the broader implications for Latin America and U.S. policy have been so important for us. This is a new piece, of course, in Brazil Wire. Our partners on the interview with President Lula, go watch it. And of course, just indispensable coverage of Brazil in general. How the FBI toppled presidents in Brazil. I'm going to quote a little bit. Natalie Viana, editor from the respected Brazilian investigative journalism site Agência Pública, recently published a 5-part series based on information shared from Telegram conversations revealed by Intercept Brazil as part of the Vaza Jato scandal. In the series, she shows how Lava Jato Task Force Director, Public Prosecutor Delton Dallagnol received financial compensation through an asset sharing scheme based on kickbacks from fines that the U.S. government collected from Brazilian companies and individuals. According to Vienna, during the meeting in which they negotiated the asset sharing deal, Delton received a cash payment in a leaked message. Dallagnol says yesterday we spoke with them about asset sharings of fines associated with actions against Petrobras, and there is a positive perspective on some of these value asset sharing in elegant terms for division of cash. So this is really important, and this comes on a set of also revealing deeper connections between the FBI and the Lava Jato task force, and specifically, like literally, we've talked about this before, but it's gotten further reported, the actual personal financial incentives of the political prosecutors of Lula, and basically their own, not only their own careers and political goals, but actually financial interests. Now, and don't forget, I mean, as Lula said to Judge Moro, when are we going to talk about this politicized operation and all the jobs it's lost? I mean, this Petrobras is a major company. It's a state oil company, which, again, whatever other issues, the Workers' Party made sure revenue from it was going into vital social needs like education and healthcare, and it provided a lot of jobs. So this just sort of adds to it. And there's also this additional revelation that the FBI's International Corruption Unit said that the FBI started, quote, looking for countries that could invite FBI agents into analyzing corruption investigations that have connections to the United States in 2014. Just as President Lula said, I don't have proof yet, but I have strong suspicions about a U.S. role. I want to play this clip now. This is Brian Mayer on Telesur talking again about the broader political context of lawfare. This is a prime tool of U.S. foreign policy, opposing progressive governance in Latin America, and this has huge implications.
Yesterday would have marked 8 months since the coup against the Bolivian people and their president of the plurinational state of Bolivia, Evo Morales. It's worth recalling that it was under the pretext of corruption and through systematic lawfare that in April 2016, Dilma Rousseff, president of Brazil, was ousted in a coup, and in similar fashion, they conspired against Lula to prevent him from being democratically elected into the presidency. So how is it that corruption has served to take out the leaders of the left, but Bolsonaro's people have remained, relatively speaking, unscathed?
Well, it's obvious, Camila, that these corruption charges are weaponized and politicized. This U.S.-backed operation, Lava Jato, was used even as a kind of Trojan horse to go after other left Latin American leaders in other countries through this corruption case involving Odebrecht Construction Company, which is worth remembering is one of the biggest competitors of the American companies Halliburton and Bechtel, which get all of these contracts in Africa and in other countries in Latin America. So in a way, by going after Odebrecht, the U.S. government was helping take out competition for its own engineering companies. So we see that corruption, anti-corruption is just a kind of facade. It's a technique to go after enemies, and that's what lawfare is. It's using the law to annihilate a political enemy. And in this case, corruption has become the rallying cry for these US-backed lawfare attacks against left leaders all over Latin America. You know, I mean, you see the latest thing with Evo Morales. Now they're trying to say he's a terrorist or something. They went after Michelle Bachelet in Chile, Cristina Kirchner, leaders all over Latin America with this.
And so this is very important. Now, again, it doesn't mean that there may or may not be individual cases of corruption, but the structural issue here of US deployment of corruption as a foreign policy tool, which you can also correlate with the use of corruption rhetoric from right-wing authoritarians, Donald Trump, Narendra Modi. There was a huge anti-corruption campaign in India, looking actually in the early years of how Putin consolidated power. Now, there was objective performance in some of these cases, but there's also a lot of rhetoric. And in Lula's case, kind of most infamously, the complete co-optation, the way that the press ran with this is very, very important for people to understand and see how these things operate, both in terms of lawfare and in terms of, again, complicating the conversation on corruption itself. This is just, again, there's just so much goddamn moralism. There's the quote unquote corruption of somebody governing a country and making deals in the system as it is to deliver for people cannot be properly understood as quote unquote corruption. That's not you're taking money from the UNICEF fund for vaccines and redirecting it into a Swiss bank account. And in fact, if we look at it more broadly, we can actually look at the literal global economic system is designed to do that function. There is, I was watching a documentary called The Wonderful World of Tony Blair about his just totally awesome post-prime ministerial lifestyle. And, tens of millions of dollars, contracts in Kuwait and Kazakhstan, and double dipping when he was a peace envoy with cell phone and natural gas deals that implicate JP Morgan, who he was advising. And you know what? I'm quite sure that all of that stuff is to the letter, to the T, legal. So we need to get into an actual conversation, as always, that looks at the full range of things, isn't buried in kind of, dogmatic thinking, and also understands the power dynamics at play. Because this deployment in Latin America has rolled back the pink tide and caused an enormous amount of damage, which we're seeing daily with, as an example, what Bolsonaro has done with Corona, among infinitely other, many, many other things. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.